Joining me now is Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former personal attorney. He's the host of the Mea Culpa podcast. He's the author of Disloyal, a memoir, and a brand new book called Revenge, How Donald Trump Weaponized the Department of Justice Against His Critics. The book comes out October 11th. I'm going to have Michael on to talk about it, but I have to read the book, right? So it's in here, but I can't show it to you. Next week, I will show it to you. Michael Cohen, you said on Nicole's show, you said to me on this show some time ago that he's hanging on to stuff for leverage. And now all of a sudden this reporting.
Listen, I wish people would have listened to me going back to 2018 when I testified before the House Oversight Committee hearing. Not too many days ago, I actually had breakfast with Representative Carolyn Maloney, and we were discussing the letter that she had sent to NARA on exactly this.
NARA's the archives.
Yes, the archives, National Archives. She wanted NARA to send a letter to Donald Trump demanding, under oath and pursuant to the penalties of perjury, that he is not in possession of any more documents, that he doesn't know of the existence of any more documents outside of NARA, as well as that he had not provided any documents to anybody else for obvious national security reasons. Good for her. You know, she did the right thing. Hopefully, they sent it. I'm sure he will ignore it, to which, you know, I believe that the House Oversight Committee will probably send the same letter to him demanding that he do it.
So the audience might be saying, all right, letters here, letters there. But actually, the point here is under oath. Get him to swear under oath that he has done this, because then if anything is discovered that is contrary to what he says, that would be a federal crime.
Absolutely. There would be a 1001 violation of lying to Congress. I know a little about
that. Let's talk a little bit about the way, if anybody thinks there are more documents, that they get this, right? I mean, they went into Mar-a-Lago. They had a search warrant. It had to be, a judge had to sign off on it. What do they do now? There seems to be some reporting now that the Justice Department thinks or says they don't have all the stuff. How does this process work, as far as you know?
Yeah, so this whole issue is just absolutely crazy. The fact that we have to sit there and we have to play this game with a former president of the United States. I want my documents back. Well, he's not entitled to them. First and foremost, they're not his. Second of all, we know that he has more documents. And they know that because in the file folder, it would specifically state the number of documents in them. Well, there's obviously more that are out there. On top of that, we should find out whether or not he photocopied any of the documents as well. But now he's playing the art of the deal, which, by the way, he didn't write that book anyway. But he's playing the art of the deal where I'll trade you this for that.
Right, which is unheard of.
This is beyond unheard of. Ali, if this was you, certainly if it was me, right, we would be in jail in 24 hours. The fact that they're placating him only gives him the belief that he has more power than what he originally does. And think about what he's asking. He wants, I'll trade you this top secret information, but I want information on the Russian investigation. Well, here's a little side note for Donald, who I hope is watching the program today. You were the president of the United States for 4 years. You had your lapdogs from Jeff Sessions to Attorney General Bill Barr in there. You're going to tell me you could have gotten? Yeah. Of course you could have. You're the president. Hell, you could declassify stuff just by thinking it. Imagine if you actually gave an offer. You gave us, a demand to your lapdog, Attorney General Bill Barr, go get me every single document. He could have done that.
You were in his orbit when the documents he's looking for about the campaign. You were still in his orbit at the time.
I was never part of the campaign, which is what kind of makes the whole campaign finance thing also fugazi. On top of that, you'll read in the book Revenge, I never committed tax evasion. I never committed lying to a bank. Lanny Davis went wild when all of this was going on, went on every single television show showing. I'm a guy who's never been audited in my entire life, unlike Trump. I've never not paid taxes. I've never even requested an extension of time. I paid over $5 million in taxes during that time period. And all of this was in the sentencing memo that we provided to Judge William H. Pauley III, who ignored it completely. And the belief, according to at least statements by FBI agents, some that are still in and some that are out, which you'll read in the book, they all knew was a lie. But yet they needed to go ahead and to do this. And then if you think about what recently came out in Berman's book, where he makes the statement that the Attorney General was putting pressure on their office to whitewash Trump or individual number one from any of the statements that I had made and only hold
Right.
it on tax evasion and then campaign finance, as well as listen, I'm responsible for Stormy Daniels. I take responsibility for that. I'm not responsible for Karen McDougal. That's David Pecker. All you have to do is Google it. But yet, I was still charged with it and fined for it.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, you spent time in jail.
Yes, I did.
Let's talk about what happens here with Donald Trump. It seems he's getting mixed advice from his lawyers, if he can hang on to his lawyers. There's a dominant camp that wants him to take this adversarial posture that we're reporting on. And there's another camp that says, perhaps you shouldn't. He always takes an adversarial posture, right? I mean,
Always.
When does he ever not? Do you have any experience of Donald Trump ever saying, all right, you know what, let's just give them the documents and maybe this will end?
No. In fact, during other investigations, he had literally polled almost every single person in the office asking whether or not Alan Garten, who is now is the general counsel to the Trump organization, whether or not he should have provided those documents pursuant to subpoena. And when we would all say, yeah, it's pursuant to subpoena, you have to. Not to mention, he didn't want to lose his law license. Nobody did. Right? What ends up happening is he looks for the next guy and the next guy.
You said to me last time you and I talked that the last, everybody wants to be the last voice in Donald Trump's ear.
Yeah, the last voice in Donald's ear owns the conversation, owns the space in between those ears. And so it doesn't matter who that person is, as long as they side with what he wants, his knee-jerk reaction. And it doesn't matter whether that person is real or imaginary. He'll turn around as he does on television and say, I spoke to a very smart guy and he said, that smart guy doesn't exist. It only exists in his mind. It's an alter ego. It's John Bannon.
I got less than a minute left, but I want to ask you about something weird that's been going on at Trump rallies now. They're playing music that sounds very much like the QAnon music, and people are giving some kind of a weird salute with a finger it seems cultish and stuff like that. Go back in your history with him. You've seen him flirt with this stuff over the years. What's happening here?
Okay, if you sat Donald in this chair and asked him to talk to you about QAnon, he couldn't. Why? Because he knows nothing about QAnon. However, what he does know is that they support him, very much like the old statements of David Duke. And he said, I don't know anything about David Duke. Sure you do. Do you know about the Ku Klux Klan, when it was formed, yada, yada? No. He doesn't know when QAnon was formed. Nothing. The problem is he knows that these people support him. And so that's enough for him. And that's all he cares about. He is legitimately a cult leader. He doesn't care about you as an individual. He doesn't care what you stand for, as long as what you stand for is him.
Michael Cohen, you and I are going to talk next week about this book. Okay, can't tell you anything about it. I have to read it, but you can't see anything about it. But next week you're going to see something about it. I not only appreciate you being here, but this is your 28th wedding anniversary.
Yes, it is. Look at what my wife. So happy anniversary, sweetheart. I'll be home in a few minutes. Only for you, Ali.
I apologize to Michael Cohen's wife for this. It was very meaningful to have him in here with us today. Michael, good to see you. I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about your book. Michael Cohen is the host of the Mea Culpa podcast, which is worth listening to. He's also the author of two books, Revenge, which is the one coming out, and Disloyal. Revenge is how Donald Trump weaponized the Department of Justice against his critics, available on October the 11th.